Ivan Pavlenko, From Family to Family, Chapter 4, Part 2.4, Lychany, read by Natalia Buzova. In the spring, we moved to another apartment. It belonged to Vladimir Kozak. He himself, with his parents, his wife Tanya, and 3 children, Sasha, the eldest, Halia, and little Petya, moved into a newly built house, and he handed over the old one to us. Shura whitewashed the house inside and out, tinted the windows, and the house began to look renewed. A man said that it had not looked like that even under the Tsar. The Cossacks' new house was opposite the old one, across the road, and we lived very well with them. Volodya and his wife, Tanya, were a little younger than us, but sometimes they came to have a chat. Their little son Petya, who was no more than 2 years old, often came. The old Cossack also visited us to learn some state news or to philosophize on life topics. He was a wise man with a Cossack mustache and an inquisitive mind, but he liked to drink alcohol. One day, an excited old woman came running to us and asked, "Did the old man visit you?" "No," we answered. "And where did he have time to drink?" The old woman left, and after a while Petya came. Shura asked him, "Petya, why are your grandma and grandpa fighting over there?" "Got drunk with Vezin," he answered. We burst out laughing. Apparently, his grandmother scolded the grandfather with the words, "I wish you got drunk with resin," and Petya understood them in his own way. Later, we learned that the grandmother tracked down the grandfather. She hid her moonshine from him, and if he didn't find it, he would buy a bottle, put it in a straw pile, and in the morning he would go to the toilet, take a few sips, and hide it again. But the woman caught him red-handed, as they say, and gave him a good scolding. The small village of Metelno was adjacent to Lychany. My cousin Natalia Andreevna Shostak lived there and ran an elementary school, and her husband Ivan Petrovich worked as the chief accountant in the Alika collective farm. They had their own motorcycle with a sidecar, and they sometimes came to visit us. We also visited them. My sister Maria and her husband Stepan also visited us occasionally. In the meantime, the school year ended, and I reported on the school's work as best I could. And after some time, I was summoned to the district committee of the party. Second Secretary Kabin accepted me. In the Kivertsi district, he said, there is a very small layer of communist teachers, and there they cannot find a candidate for the position of head of the district department of public education. The regional committee of the party appealed to us to help and gave instructions to choose a suitable person from among the school principals. Together with Trushevsky and the head of the district Vlasenko, we reviewed the personnel files of several candidates and chose you. Neighbors need to be helped. How do you see it? I expected everything, but not such an offer. I thought that maybe they would offer me a directorship in one of the secondary schools or a job in the district committee of the party, and here in another district. On the one hand, it was nice that I was so appreciated, and on the other hand, I didn't want them to dig into my biography again. After all, any district ideological position was agreed with the party's regional committee, and I would have to fill out a questionnaire from my great-grandfather, write an autobiography, and pass an interview in the offices of officials who would either approve the appointment or reject it. I thought about it. Meanwhile, Kabin, considering my personal case, continued persuading me. You have experience in leading Komsomol party and administrative economic work, and you have proven yourself well in the position of school principal. The party does not accept any refusal if a communist is nominated for a more responsible job. Indeed, it was difficult to refuse. Good reasons were required. I talked about the fact that I had not had a high education and specialty, so I had often been transferred from one place to another. Such a nomadic life had exhausted me. I finally got a teacher's diploma and found a job, and I loved and wouldn't want to change. In addition, I had a wife and 3 children, and I would agree to move to Kivertsi only on the condition that they gave me an apartment there. I can't promise an apartment, Kevin said, because I don't have one. My task is to send you to the disposal of Verbivska, the head of the regional department of public education. You will solve all your employment issues with her. That was the end of the conversation. I took the referral and went to Lutsk. On the way, I comprehensively considered all the pros and cons of the new position and came to the conclusion that financially it added almost nothing to me. The salary would increase by only 20 karbovancy, but there would be no vegetable garden and therefore no household help. One advantage was a city apartment, if I was offered one. I decided to keep this view. Verbivska accepted me immediately without making me wait in line and was friendly and cautious. She asked first about health and family and only then about my career path. I repeated to her almost everything that I had told about myself in the district committee of the party. Well, she concluded, you suit us. Go to the personnel department and complete your personal file there. And then we will go to the regional party committee, to the head of the propaganda and agitation department, Nina Lukivna Alexeyeva. You will need to agree with her about your appointment. But I was against such a hasty decision on my fate and declared that it was necessary first to agree on the apartment issue and then draw up a personal file and go to the regional committee for approval. Verbivska immediately called to Kivertsi. I did not hear what she was talking about. According to her, she assured that the apartment would be available. I went to the personnel department, got the necessary papers there, and started to reproduce my biography on them and fill out the questionnaire. An hour passed, plus a lunch break, and I had time to complete my personal affairs before Verbivska came. She looked through the questionnaire, read the autobiography, and said that the documents were written well and competently. We walked along the long corridors in the regional party committee. It was located in the second wing of the same building, but it differed from the regional executive committee. On each floor, there were police guards. Verbivska was known there and was let through without delay. Finally, we entered the office. At the table sat a young but plump lady. It was Nina Lukivna Alexeyeva. She pointed us to the chair. I sat opposite, and Verbivska sat down on the side, and having reported whom she had brought and for what purpose, put my personal case before the clear eyes of the mistress of the office. Nina Lukivna looked at me and, as if assessing, silently examined my physiognomy, suit, tie, and then asked, "Where are you from?" "From the Poltava region," I answered. "Это хорошо. It's good," said the lady, stretching out the last word, and her face became softer and lighter, and then she added, "Our trust in local people is not strong enough yet." After such an introduction, the lady took my personal case into her hands and began to slowly examine it. I sat in tension and waited for an unpleasant question for me about being in captivity. But for some reason, she was not interested in my military service and started with the career path. "Did you work in the Komsomol?" "Yes." "The second secretary of the district committee," I answered. "Это хорошо," the lady repeated her cliched phrase for the second time. We all came out of the Komsomol. After reading aloud some more data from my questionnaire, she closed the personal file and asked, "Are you willing to go to a new job, or maybe you are under duress?" Verbivska had warned me in her office not to refuse the job offer of the regional committee. Otherwise, there was no need to go there. I saw her sitting without taking her eyes off me. If I refused, it would cost her too much for the lost precious time of an important regional committee person. But I was not new to such a situation and was well aware of nomenclature ethics, so I answered in the way that superiors expected from their subordinates. I love my job and believe that as a school principal, I am in the right place. But as a communist, I am always ready to fulfill any party's assignment. Хорошо, concluded Alexeyeva firmly and approvingly without further ado. She congratulated me on my appointment, shook my hand, and said something else about the party's trust, which I promised to live up to. On the appointed day, I arrived at the party's Kivertsi district committee. There was an hour left before the meeting of the bureau, and I was received by the secretary of the district committee, who spoke about ideology. This man was a war invalid and worked on a processes. His last name did not remain in my memory, since it was the first and last time I saw him. Despite this, he unceremoniously addressed me as you. First, he asked if I had managerial experience. I told him where and with whom I had worked, and the following dialogue took place between us. We don't have an apartment now. He spread his hands. Then, why did your first secretary assure Verbivska on the phone that there would be an apartment? And why should I get off my perch? There is an apartment as there will be an apartment. These are different things, he tried to correct me. Perhaps by the end of the year, one KGB major will leave for Lutsk, but this apartment has already been promised and repromised, including to an employee of the district committee. In that case, there is no need to go to the office. Without an apartment, I will not go to work in the district, and I began to get up from the chair. Wait, you are in a hurry, he stopped me. Sit down, and I'll go to the first secretary. After a few minutes, we entered the spacious office of the first secretary of the district committee. He, without answering my greeting, immediately went on the offensive. So, are you coming to us at the call of the party or for an apartment? But putting pressure on my party conscience, he obviously wanted to confuse me, as they say, but it was already an outdated technique. I love my job, and I do it well. I have a family in the village with whom I have no desire to break daily ties for the sake of a managerial position in another district. I spoke about this both in the district party committee and in the region, but I was assured that there would be an apartment. If it is not so, then I do not give my consent. The two of them still persuaded me a little, promising a one-room apartment or some unrenovated one by winter, but I did not agree to exchange the living for the dead. That's why I said goodbye. I didn't go home from the district committee, but to the region. Verbivska was found in her office. I told her about the results of the trip to Kivertsi. Verbivska listened carefully to my arguments and agreed. And what was the point of bothering a person from the outside? She was worried. When you can't provide an apartment, now let them search on the spot. I will not send them anyone else. I left Verbivska satisfied and almost happy. After all, I got rid of the difficult prospect of repeating the Lochwitzer variant of service related to a nomadic life without home warmth and normal food. I returned home, called Kevin. He asked a few questions and then, as if making excuses, said that the story with my transfer was forced to the district committee and congratulated me on its successful completion. My main workplace remained at the school, and I was engaged in party affairs in my free time. It's true, sometimes I was called to various district meetings, seminars, etc. Then I left one of the teachers inside of me. The educational process proceeded by itself, even in absence of the principal, and the teachers even felt freer when I was not there.